I've been retired for 5 years. Most people my age, when they retire, they sit around the house, they watch TV, they play golf, you know. They just kind of hang out. That's not for me. That's not for me. I decided to come to Thailand and meet new people and experience a new culture. Even though I'm an old man, I'm not too old to learn new things. So you see, the road that most people would take would be to stay home, watch TV, play a little golf. But the road less traveled is to invite new experiences, to do something that most other people wouldn't do. So when Robert Frost says two roads diverged, do you know what diverged means? Do you know that word diverge?
Yes.
Diverge?
Diverge means different.
Yeah. Two roads diverge. Diverge. That's two roads to come together converge. That's converge. Diverge, converge. So, Robert Frost, a poet, could have been many things.
I think this poem warning you that what do you want to do in the rest of your life.
Yeah,
You have to prepare yourself first before before that time.
Yeah, we have many
What do you
choices.
want to do?
Yeah,
But I have really wrote not only 2 words.
Robert Frost, very few people become poets.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, not very many people are poets. You can't make money writing poetry.
Yeah.
There's no money in it. There's no fame to come from being a poet, unless you're a famous one. Most poets, no one knows about them. They just do it because it's the road less traveled. Now, here's the question. See, when we read a poem like this, there are multiple layers of meaning. There is the literal meaning, what the words mean on literally, and then there's the words as symbols, you know, to get us to think about how this applies to us. So see, when he says, two roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less traveled by and it's made all the difference, he's not just talking about himself. He's asking you, when were you faced with a choice to take this road or that road? Why did you make that choice? And how has that choice affected you? What the poet is trying to get you to do is to think deeply about your own experiences. He's not just telling you about his. He wants you to think deeply about his own. About your own. When have you made a choice about two roads? Did you take the one that everyone else would have taken? Or did you take the one less traveled? What kind of a difference did that make? The next time you're faced with a choice whether to take this road or that road, will you take the one that is traveled frequently, or will you take the one that's less traveled by? What difference is it likely to make? A poem will have multiple layers of meaning. Now, when we read other text, like a story or a newspaper, we also need to consider that the text, the words, will have multiple layers of meaning. So, if we read a story in a newspaper, we have to ask ourselves, okay, what do those words mean? What are the facts? But we also ask, is the writer of those words trying to persuade us? Is the writer of those words trying to influence our thinking some way? What's the opinion of the writer? Does the opinion of the writer agree with our opinion? That's what we mean by comprehending. We understand not only what the words say, but how the words affect our thinking. Multiple layers of meaning. When we first learn a new language, all we are really trying to do is to just learn the meaning of the words. But each of you is advanced enough in English that you now have to begin thinking about not only what the words mean literally, but what effect do these words have? What is the meaning beyond the literal meaning? Because all languages have multiple layers of meaning. I understand and speak just a little Spanish, un poquito, but I can barely understand the meaning of the words. See, I'm a beginner in Spanish, but I'm trying to practice so that I can learn not only the literal meaning of the words, but the deeper meaning of the words. Okay? Good. So, do you like that poem, Robert Frost? Do you like the poem? Do you like the way it sounds?
I think so difficult.
What?
I think so difficult.
It's difficult?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Last week that's okay.
Well, this was much more challenging. I wanted to see how you could do. I wanted to see how you could do. Okay. Let's continue working about tense.
Thank you for sending t-shirt.
You know present tense, past tense. We also know now that there is present perfect tense. When we want to show that we're doing something now, or we have been doing something and we're still doing something. You have been learning English, which means that in the past you learned English, but you're still learning English. That would be present perfect. Present tense, I learned English. Past tense, I learned English. So we would want to use present perfect. I am learning English, present perfect. Now, and we'll learn some more tenses as we go along. Last Friday, we reviewed parts of speech. We know what a noun is, right? And we know what a verb is. And you know what adjectives are, modifiers. Okay? I'm going to introduce a new idea for you. It's called a gerund. That's pronounced gerund. 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 A gerund is when we use a gerund in a sentence. This sounds confusing at first, but we'll practice it, and I think you'll get the idea. With the gerund, we take a verb, and we make that verb into a noun. So a noun, we know, is a person, a place, a thing, or it can also be a state of action or being. So an example of a noun as a person, James is visiting Thailand. So James is a noun, refers to, in this case, myself. Okay? A noun can be a place. Thailand is next to Myanmar. Okay? Thailand is a noun, Myanmar is a noun. It can be a thing. A noun can be a thing, like an apartment, a car, a teacup. A noun can also be what we refer to as a state of action. So, drinking water. Drinking water is necessary in a hot climate.